Hi, I'm odeean, and today I've got Toyworld TW-D01 Raw, which is their version of Snarl, the Dinobot from G1. I really like this toy. I'm going to show you everything about it, but this box is crazy. Typically, this is the kind of box that Toyworld have been giving us. It's a very thin card, a plastic window here. Nice artwork quite often on the front, but it's relatively flimsy and cheap. The good thing about these boxes is that they kind of minimize the space that you need. Now, with this guy, who I reviewed earlier, there was an issue where paint rub had occurred because of the plastic window on the box not fitting the components in. And I think that they've really tried to, get the bad taste of that out of people's mouth by going insane with what they do with their boxes now. I mean, listen to that. This is thick card. I'm going to pop this open. Oh, I'm showing you the back of the box. Stupid me. That is the front of the box. That is an awesome piece of artwork, and it looks fantastic. It's really, really nice, and I really like how that looks, but still, I think the box is too big. Let's open up this thick card, have a look at what's inside. There go the instructions. Now, if you've watched my videos, you'll know that I always ask, please give me polystyrene, because the boxes don't compress and I can stack them. And Toyworld have done exactly that. This huge panel of polystyrene. Inside, there's the cavity for the dinosaur. This was holding his tail still, so we don't get things rattling around. A sticker of the artwork and a little credit card of the artwork. So this is all great, but it's just much bigger than they usually go for the size of toy that you get. So on the one hand, it's a great box, but on the other hand, if everything they do is this size from now on, I'm going to have added storage problems, which are really quite a headache for me. Let's get down to business. You didn't look at this video to see a nice box. It was for Snarl here, Raw, Snarl, whatever you want to call him. I paused myself for a very long time before going with Dinobots that were in the classics third-party style, and that's just because there are so many of them out there. I mean, the obvious choice that a lot of people made was the Fans Project, but I just don't see Dinobots really in what Fans Project have done. I thought that they were a bit off. I like things to be a bit closer to G1, and this is the way I went. I went with Toyworld, partly because Toyworld have, I don't think they've ever let me down. The stuff that they've been pumping out these days has been right in my alley of how I like things to look, and this is no exception. I mean, the head, look at that head there. It's very G1-esque. So I've spent ages looking at Snarl's head in screen grabs from the G1 cartoon, and you know what? This is a very good interpretation of what Snarl looked like. Now, we don't see Snarl that often, especially in the movie. I think he's in there for like maybe a quarter of a second. But, they've hit the mark exactly. And that's one of the most important things for me when it comes to these figures, is how much does it look like who I want it to be. And you can see there that the light piping, I'm not a fan of light piping. I hate it. But it actually works pretty good on this figure. I still would have preferred painted eyes, but if I have to have light piping, even in this dark environment here, this one is showing up pretty well. The chest panel here is a see-through piece of plastic, a bit smoky, but it is see-through. Looking at the other side, you can see those little pegs. I'm going to carefully try and remove this now, because I want to put an Autobot sticker there. I don't know if I should do it on camera. I'm going to just turn the camera off for a second and try to pop that off. Now that I've done that, you can see that there is a little space for a logo there, and the plastic, I did get it off without breaking, so if you're careful, you'll definitely be able to do that. Just take it easy, because they are quite thin. So now let's grab a sticker. Unfortunately, the only one I had was this crappy one with the silver border, and I'm not too crash hot on that. I'm going to get a see-through bordered one, and that's reversible, and stick it to the back side of this plastic. I think in the long run that will be better, but for now at least he's got an Autobot sticker which I can peel off at some later time. Raw's main weapon is this gun, and I don't like this gun very much, which is really weird. They've gone so well with the whole figure, and it looks good from every angle, but they made the choice of doing this gun, which is nothing like Snarl's gun from G1. I just can't imagine why they made that choice. I mean, it would have been so easy to make a gun that looks right. I don't know why they chose not to. Guns on their other figures have been really good, and this is not up to the same standard as the guns I've got with other Toyworld figures. I don't know what they were thinking with this. It's just a kind of little bit of a letdown. Not too much of a complaint. I'm sure there's plenty of other weapons I'll be able to get to use with this figure, but uncharacteristically poor gun, I think. As well as that, we've got this sword, which is good enough. I mean, Snarl did have a red sword in G1. He's still got a red sword here. It's good enough. It's nothing spectacular. It's just a see-through piece of red plastic. Later on in dinosaur mode, it does integrate into the transformation, which is kind of okay. The posability on this figure is good and bad. I say it's good because he's got a full range of posability, but where it is bad is, watch this. It's very, very stiff. So that ratchet is quite hard for me to do. I don't know if that's going to wear down over time and become easier. He's got, bicep cut there. The shoulder can extend out like this so that you get this outward swing. And if you don't like the gap, you can condense it down on itself like that to get rid of the gap. So the shoulder is pretty effective, and it definitely holds its weight. You can't hear it, but there are some soft detents there. So it is ratcheting up and down like that. So, I mean, it's great posability. Got ratchets in this universal joint here, even some weak ones backwards and forwards, a cut above the knee, more ratchets in the knee there. It's pretty nice. I mean, ankle tilts. What would people say if it had no ankle tilts? Waist rotation. It's all good, basically, just a little bit stiff. I got a feeling it will wear down over time. Now, one slight annoyance that I've got is this transformation joint. You'll see that as I move the arm, the transformation joint in the torso moves. Now, I can't see any locking system there to hold that in, so I think it's just going to have to be that way, but I would have liked it if that locked in a little bit more secure. And the hands can open, so he's got everything. These things up here, you can put them however you like. Looking at Snarl from the side, he cuts an impressive figure. Not too bulky, but bulky enough. It's really good. I really like it. I like the way he just looks like a G1 Dinobot, but he does a few things. I mean, his transformation is very similar to a G1 Dinobot, but he does a few things that are just clever compared to what G1 did, which I think are pretty cool. Before I get to that though, maybe do some size comparisons. This is a Classics Hound, and I feel like that's very good scale. I think that goes really well with the size of this Snarl. This is Toyworld's Brainwave, one of their headmasters. It's hard to say, but I think that Dinobots are meant to be bigger than that. I was happy with Brainwave's size, but it's a compromise. If you've got the, the Fans Project version, then it's much smaller and probably more in scale with this Dinobot. I don't think that these are too good in scale together, but they do both look like good toys. This is Snarl with Toyworld's version of Optimus Prime, and again, I don't think he's quite big enough. Optimus Prime, I don't think should be bigger than Snarl. Well, let's see. When Grimlock comes, I guess that's the real test. If Grimlock is the same size as Prime or a little bit bigger, then I'll be satisfied. But if Grimlock's the same size as Snarl here, then I think that something's gone wrong. It's probably a compromise. If they had pushed the Dinobots that they were doing into a little bit bigger class, then they would have been directly competing with the masterpiece versions that a few companies are doing. So I understand the logic behind keeping them just a little bit smaller. It helps with price, and it just helps to spread out that market a bit. But, if it was perfect, I feel like it might be 10 or 15% bigger than what it really is. It does scale pretty nicely with masterpiece cars, though. It's all a matter of perspective. I mean, if I had the masterpiece Prime, who is supposedly the same size as these, same scale rather, as these cars, then he would be massively too big for Snarl. So it is somewhere in the middle, and maybe the masterpiece Dinobots that a few companies have been making are in better scale, but it still looks nice. I've heard a few people say that the heel arrangement here is unstable, and I feel like that's because most people just transform it with the dino leg still facing forward. Now, admittedly, that hides it a little bit better in the back of the leg there, but I've found that if you just rotate it so that it's in that position, it is much more stable as a figure and hardly ever falls over. So, I mean, if you're looking at it from front ways like this, that's not obvious. And even from the side there, it's not too much of an eyesore. I mean, you do get this toe sticking out, and if you turn it to the back, I mean, you're always going to have this big yellow part here, but you do also get this extra foot part. But I think it all fits in quite nicely, especially considering how much chrome this guy's got. Oh, it's nice chrome, isn't it? I'm not a fan of chrome, but on Dinobots, I love chrome. I love that. That looks so good. They've done a really good job of that chrome too. It's flawless. I mean, I can't find any fault with the way they've pulled off that chrome work. One little missed opportunity, I feel, is that they didn't give us a mounting point for the weapon on his shoulders. There's this beautiful circle here. It could easily have been incorporated some way. I want to put it there, I really do, but it will not go. It has to be held. Now, there is a mounting point on the back, and you can plug in here. Come on, plug it in. Mainly meant for dyno mode, but you can store it there. Look at that. You can see I've just popped off one of these plates. They are ball joints, so I don't know how long that chrome is going to survive being on a ball joint. It's not too tight, so if we're careful, it might last a while. When I first got it, these were like really tight, but just moving it 1 or 2 times loosened it up quite nicely. Let's get to the transformation. Transformation, pretty simple. Pretty much what you'd expect. So flip the hands open, stick them in, stick the robot hands in like that. Let's do the other side. Make these legs straight if you can. So clicky. Oh, that one's so hard. Makes me a bit scared doing it actually. Flip this chest down, his head will go in there, and it will just kind of tab together up here. What am I doing? Let's do the legs. So this panel on the leg is going to open up, and it doesn't move through there, it just gives it clearance so it can flip around. And then, as I said before, I'm going to flip back that to how it was. Same thing on the other side. Now, I don't know if they independently invented this flipping thing, but it does have a very similar feel to how Scoria was from, was it Fans Toys? Now is probably a pretty good time to try and line this up and peg it together. It does peg together nice and tight. If you can get it even. Look at that. I think that's not the same one that I popped off. It's the other one. I think I just need to be cautious. My hands are kind of bumping into that. All right, now these are going to flip. Before I flip it over, what I've got to do is unpeg this back panel. Now, the tail can come off. You don't have to take it off. I don't like taking it off. I don't want to take it off. I like perfect transformations. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do it trying to keep the tail on. You can see I rotated that right around like that. And then we're going to try and get the tail pointed up. Ah, it came off. God damn it. Anyway, what can I say? It comes off relatively easily, so not much you can do about it. In the box, it was already off when I got it. I wish that they had done that another way, but what can I say? Rotate these panels up now, like this. And that's going to give you the clearance you need to plug that tail back in. Now, as I said, I have done this once without disconnecting it, but it is a little bit tricky. I mean, it doesn't even peg in really solidly actually to the back. So you'd think that that pegs in solid, but it is, you can see how easily it comes off. I think that is a kind of missed opportunity. There should have been some kind of plug to plug into these red things here, but there's not. What can I say? At this point, the legs are looking quite high. The solution for that is bring them down. So you can see how one of them's down now. The other one can bring down too, and that gets it just right. Just kind of a double joint there that swings it up and down. Now, as you would expect, fold the legs up. Oh, there goes the tail. Fold the legs up and tab them in as Snarl would do. Close up the head. Just line it up first so you can make the connection. Put his annoying tail back on. Tab it in again because it came out. That's it. Now, is this the best Snarl that you're ever going to see? Maybe not. There are some faults with it, but all in all, I really do like it. I think it carries that vintage look. No better way to say it. I don't like when too many liberties are taken with toys to give them more anime look. I don't like that. I like them to carry that vintage look in a modern way, which I feel this does. Looks very robust, like a dinosaur should. My biggest issue with the look is the stubby neck. There is no neck. The head just whacks onto the end of that like one big triangle. Looks a little bit off to me, to be honest. Maybe it could have extended out some way. I mean, I'm pulling it doesn't extend out, just making sure. But it's only a small problem. I think that maybe by the time I've got the whole team, their unique kind of look may carry through in a little bit to all of them, and it'll just be better having them all in one go. But it is a little bit weird having no neck there. Now, all of these are posable, as I mentioned before. You can position them however you like. The gun can mount on the back. That's pretty cool. And finally, the tail. I'm going to split this tail again to show this. This sword has an exact space where it will slot into the tail. It's like a shape made for the same size and dimensions as the hilt. So once you find that spot and push it together, it is fully integrated into the tail. Now, I don't think that it looks that amazing to have this red bit sticking out, but then again, you know, it's better than losing the sword, and it does give you something to do with that sword. I don't think the G1 Snarl that I had a place to stick the sword, so it's a good idea. Let's leave it at that. Comparing it to Masterpiece kind of Scoria, it is nowhere near as huge as Scoria. You can see there that Scoria is just really massive, and Scoria weighs a lot more. So if you're thinking this is your Masterpiece Dinobot, I don't think that's what this is. I think it's really squarely aimed at being a classics kind of Dinobot. But from my thinking, the Masterpiece Dinobots are actually the right size scale-wise to go with most classics toys anyway. So I was kind of torn whether I should get any of these classics versions at all, because I felt like this is really perfect, especially for things like, you know, what have I got over here? I think he's a good size for B. There's my hound again. Scoria goes well with all those things, but he's harder to transform. You've got to be more careful with it because it's got more delicate parts. It's much heavier, much more expensive. So there was a place in my collection for these guys. My final thoughts. Depending on where you get this, it can be a little bit more pricey than some of the other Toyworld stuff. I paid about $100 plus shipping, so altogether about, you know, $120 or something like that from Chumungmung. Love Chumungmung. That guy Tony's awesome over there, and he shipped it straight out to me. I didn't want to buy it off eBay. I'm sick of eBay, people in China selling stuff off eBay, and it takes forever sometimes to get there. I think they go with the cheapest option. I felt like 120 was a good deal. If you bought it off BBTS, I don't know what they're selling it for. I think it's 115 plus shipping. So for me, it would have been just a tiny bit more. And I wanted to get this straight away. I didn't want it to sit in my pile of loot. So I went with Chumung in this case. But as a US customer, it's still probably working out a little bit more expensive to get this than if you're closer to one of the Asian countries. It hasn't always been the case with the Toyworld stuff. A lot of their stuff has been ending up going for about $80, $80 to $90 plus shipping. But it seems that with this, with the Dinobots, they're really sticking to that $100 starting point. Do I think it's worth more than $100? Not really. I think they're pushing their luck going higher and higher like that. And I don't know how, even when I like it like this, I don't know how much longer I can support increases in prices going over 100, and I wish these third parties would stop it. Masterpiece level toys, that's one thing. If they're getting close to 200 for Scoria, that's a different story. But stuff which is like a big Voyager, I think 100 is just too much. I'm not really prepared to do that too much more. Like, I've held off on a few of these combiners just because of that. But, you know, it doesn't take away from the quality of the toy. It's just how far are they willing to push that price point. I don't know how much people are willing to pay, but, you know, I'm at my kind of limit. I think one thing that is good is that it represents an advancement in the process that Toyworld have got. The joints were a bit stiff, but some of the ways they achieved the extra range of motion I feel are kind of clever, and they've learned a little bit. So I like that Toyworld are progressing. Toyworld have their version of Sludge almost ready to come out. All the pictures have been released showing it in its final form. Definitely picking that up. I think that the Sludge that they've shown looks a little bit weaker than this Snarl. I think the Snarl was particularly good, and it's hard to tell from the slag that they've been showing how good that is, but it looks a little bit weak too. I can't wait to get them in hand. Now, these are a combiner, so there's these 4 pegs, which you may have noticed a couple of times on him up there, and it seems like the Sludge has the same 4 pegs, so I'm guessing that these peg in, this is the attachment point to make this guy a leg, or maybe a foot. Not really sure which way it's going to go, but 4 pegs must be a pretty strong bond. So at least with this, not like the Throttlebots, we've got some definite proof that there's a plan for a combiner and not just talk. And we still haven't got that Throttlebot combiner finished yet, so I wonder if that will ever happen. That's basically it. I hope you can tell from this video that I am genuinely liking this. These days it's getting harder to be excited with some of the figures. Trying to get less figures, just what I like. I really like this. I think you should go and buy it. It's awesome. That's it, my video review for Raw from Toyworld, aka Snarl. I'm odeean. Thank you for watching.